Welcome to Module 1, Real Estate Investment. In this module, we'll cover the fundamental legal concepts that are essential for understanding real estate investment. This foundation will help you navigate the complexities of property ownership, contracts, and other related legal matters, setting you up for success in your investment journey. Let's dive in and explore these key principles together. Legal knowledge is essential for investors because it helps protect your capital and allows you to make decisions with greater confidence. When you understand key concepts like ownership, liability, contracts, and compliance, you significantly reduce the risks involved before you actually commit your money. This foundational understanding gives you the tools to navigate potential pitfalls and protect your investments. In this module, which focuses on real estate investment, we'll dive into these topics to help you build a solid legal framework for your investment strategy. When it comes to real estate ownership, there are several key legal structures to consider. First, we have sole ownership, where a single person holds a title directly and takes on full legal and financial responsibility. This means all decisions, profits, and liabilities fall on that one owner. Next is partnership, involving two or more owners who share capital, control, profits, and any potential liability. This structure allows for collaboration, but also means shared risks. Finally, there's the option of owning property through an LLC or corporation. These are separate legal entities that can own property, which not only can help manage the investment, but also provides a protective shield for personal assets against liabilities related to property. Understanding these structures is crucial as each affects control, risk, and benefits differently in real estate investing. When we talk about sole ownership in real estate, it means that one person owns the property directly. This person has full control over all decisions related to property and receives all the profits without needing to share with partners or form a separate entity. This makes ownership simple and straightforward. However, this simplicity comes with significant risks. Because the property is owned personally, there is no legal separation between the owner and the property. This means if there's a dispute or a liability claim related to property, the owner's personal assets could be at risk. The main benefit of sole ownership is this full control and direct ownership, which can make managing the property easier. But the key risk to always keep in mind is the lack of a legal shield between the owner and any potential liabilities tied to the property. So, while it's simple control, it requires careful consideration of the associated risks. When it comes to partnerships in real estate, there are several advantages that make this approach appealing. First, partners can pool their capital together, which allows them to make larger investments than they might be able to on their own. This shared capital reduces the individual financial burden. Second, partnerships enable shared management, meaning responsibilities and decision-making can be distributed among the partners, which can lead to more efficient operations and diverse expertise. However, there are also some important disadvantages to consider. One key downside is joint liability. This means that each partner is personally responsible for the debts and obligations of the partnership, which can increase personal risk. Additionally, partners must share the profits, so the returns are divided rather than going to one individual. Another potential challenge is the risk of conflict between partners, especially when it comes to decision-making or differences in expectations. Understanding both the benefits and the risks of partnerships in real estate is crucial before entering into such an agreement. Balancing shared responsibilities and potential conflicts is key to making partnerships successful. When considering legal structures for real estate investment, limited liability companies, or LLCs stand out as a popular choice. One of the biggest advantages of LLCs is liability protection. This means that the owner's personal assets are typically shielded from property-related debts and claims, providing a crucial layer of security. Another key benefit is flexibility. LLCs allow you to customize ownership percentages, profit sharing, and management roles to fit the specific deal, which can be a huge advantage in complex investments. Additionally, LLCs offer tax advantages through pass-through taxation, so profits and losses go directly to the owners, avoiding the double taxation seen in some corporate structures. Finally, LLCs are operationally simpler than corporations, with fewer formalities required, while still being recognized as a legitimate business entity, making them both practical and efficient for real estate investors. When it comes to corporations and real estate investing, the structure you choose has a big impact on your tax outcome and overall strategy. Let's start with the S corporation. This type of corporation is considered a pass-through entity for federal tax purposes, meaning income and losses typically flow directly to the shareholders, which helps avoid double taxation at the corporate level. However, there are some ownership limits and eligibility rules you need to be aware of, and while you get liability protection, the flexibility for allocating profits among shareholders is somewhat limited. On the other hand, we have the C corporation. This type offers no restrictions on shareholders, making it easier to expand and raise capital. As a separate legal entity, a C corp provides strong continuity even when ownership changes. It's often a preferred choice if you'd like to retain earnings within the business for future growth. The downside is that corporate income is taxed at the entity level, and any dividends paid to shareholders can be taxed again, leading to double taxation. Choosing between these two structures largely depends on your investment goals, scale, and how you want to handle taxes and profits. Understanding these distinctions is key to making the best decision for your real estate investment strategy. When we talk about ownership documentation, the key point is that clear title records are essential for proving who owns the property. These records don't just show ownership, they also reveal any claims or issues that might come with it. Deeds are the documents that officially record the transfer of ownership from one party to another. Beyond that, title records help us uncover any liens, easements, or competing interests that could affect the property. Having accurate and thorough documentation is crucial because it reduces legal risks before the deal is finalized. Simply put, if ownership isn't clearly established on paper, it's risky to consider the investment certain or safe in practice. On this slide, we're looking at common forms of property transfer, specifically different types of deeds. First, the warranty deed is the strongest form of protection for the buyer. It guarantees that the title is clear and free from any prior claims, giving the buyer full peace of mind. Next, the quitclaim deed is quite different. It transfers whatever ownership interest a seller has, but offers no guarantees about the validity of the title. So, it's riskier for the buyer. Then we have the grant deed, which provides limited assurances. It guarantees that the property hasn't already been transferred to someone else and that there aren't significant encumbrances, but it's not as comprehensive as a warranty deed. Lastly, the special warranty deed only protects against title issues that arose during the seller's time of ownership, not before that. Understanding these distinctions is crucial when deciding how title is conveyed in a real estate transaction. An easement is a legal right that allows someone else to use part of your land, even though they don't own it. This is quite common with things like access roads, driveways, drainage paths, and utility corridors. One key point to understand is that easements typically run with the land, meaning they usually remain in place even if the property is sold to a new owner. This can have a significant legal impact. It might limit how you can build on your property, affect access, and influence the overall value or future development plans. So, easements are an important factor to consider in real estate investment, as they shape how land can be used and transferred. Encumbrances are legal claims or restrictions on property that can affect how the property is used, transferred, or even its value. There are several common types to be aware of. First, liens occur when unpaid debts create claims against the property title, meaning the property could be subject to payment claims. Then, mortgages represent a lender's security interest in the property until the loan is fully repaid. So the lender has certain rights over property. Lastly, covenant are private rules or agreements that place limits on how the property can be used, often established by previous owners or associations. Understanding these encumbrances is crucial because they can impact your rights and responsibilities as a property owner. Let's talk about mortgages and what they really mean in terms of legal rights and obligations. A mortgage is essentially a legal instrument that gives a lender a security interest in the property. This means that the lender has a claim on the property itself as collateral. However, even though the property secures a loan, the borrower remains personally responsible for repaying the debt. What this does is it ties the loan directly to the real estate and creates enforceable rights if the borrower fails to make payments as agreed. On the lender's side, they have key rights such as foreclosure, which allows them to take legal action against the property if the borrower defaults on the loan. Additionally, lenders can seek collection of the debt under the terms of the loan and applicable state laws. On the borrower's side, they have several important obligations. They must make all scheduled payments on time, including principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. It's also the borrower's responsibility to maintain the property in reasonable condition to protect the value of the property that secures the loan. This balance of rights and obligations ensures both parties are protected while the loan is in effect. Zoning laws and land use restrictions play a crucial role in real estate investment. They essentially dictate what types of buildings you can construct or modify in a specific area, as well as how you can use the property. For residential zones, this often means rules about density, how many housing units are allowed, and regulations around rentals, which can impact income potential. Commercial zones focus more on permitted business activities, determining what kind of enterprises can operate there. Industrial and mixed-use zones come with regulations on operations, parking requirements, noise levels, and overall site intensity. Understanding these zoning rules is vital because they influence not only your ability to build or lease, but also the returns you can expect as an investor. This framework shapes the opportunities and limitations in any real estate investment decision. Now, let's talk about covenants, conditions, and restrictions, or CC and RS for short. These are private rules that are tied directly to a property, and they play a big role in defining what homeowners can and cannot do. Essentially, CC and RS shape the overall look and feel of a neighborhood and set the standards that the Homeowners Association, or HOA, can enforce. One key aspect is appearance standards. This means things like paint colors, fencing, landscaping, and how well the exterior of a home is maintained may all be regulated. The goal here is to keep the community looking cohesive and well kept. Next, use restrictions are another important category. These rules can limit things like renting out your property, parking, running a business from home, having certain types or numbers of pets, or any activities that might be considered a nuisance to neighbors. Finally, architectural controls come into play when homeowners want to make changes to their homes, such as additions, remodels, new roofs, or decks. Usually, these changes require HOA approval to make sure they meet the community's design guidelines. Together, these CC and RS help protect property values and maintain the community's character over time. When we talk about property rights, it's important to understand that ownership isn't just a single right. It's actually made up of 5 distinct legal powers, collectively known as a bundle of rights. First, there's the right to possess, which means you have the legal authority to occupy and hold title to the property. Next is the right to use the property in lawful ways, so you can utilize it as you see fit within the boundaries of the law. Third, you have the right to transfer these rights. This includes selling, leasing, gifting, or bequeathing the property to someone else. Fourth, there's a right to exclude, which allows you to prevent others from entering or using your property without permission. And finally, the right to enjoy means you can benefit from the property without unreasonable interference from others. Together, these 5 powers form the foundation of legal ownership in real estate. On this slide, I want to cover the essentials of landlord-tenant law, which is critical for anyone involved in real estate investment. First, let's look at the landlord's responsibilities. A landlord must provide habitable premises, meaning the rental property needs to be safe, clean, and livable. They are also obligated to make any required repairs promptly to maintain those conditions. Additionally, landlords need to follow proper notice and eviction procedures, ensuring they respect legal timelines and due process when ending a tenancy. On the tenant side, the primary obligation is to pay rent on time. Tenants must also use the property lawfully, which means adhering to any lease terms and not engaging in illegal activities on the premises. Importantly, tenants have rights too. They are entitled to privacy and due process, so landlords cannot enter property without proper notice or evict tenants without following legal procedures. Understanding these key points helps both landlords and tenants navigate their rights and obligations effectively, which is essential for a smooth and lawful rental relationship. When it comes to lease agreements, there are several critical terms that must be clearly outlined to avoid any confusion or disputes. First, every lease should specify who is responsible for payments and maintenance, and what happens if either party fails to meet their obligations. Starting with the rent amount, the agreement needs to state the exact rent, including the due date, any grace period allowed, and rules around late fees. This helps ensure timely payments and sets clear expectations. Next, the lease duration is essential. The start and end dates must be specified, along with information on renewal terms and any rights for early termination. This clarity protects both the landlord and tenant throughout the lease period. Maintenance responsibilities should also be clearly assigned. The lease must clarify who handles repairs, routine upkeep, and any major system failures. This avoids disagreements about maintenance costs or delays in addressing issues. The security deposit section outlines the exact amount required, the conditions under which deductions can be made, and the timeline for when the deposit will be returned after the lease ends. Tenant obligations are equally important, covering aspects like occupancy limits, utility payments, property care, and adherence to any property rules or regulations. Finally, landlord duties must be detailed, including ensuring the property is habitable, legal notice requirements, and granting access for necessary repairs. These terms help maintain a fair and functional landlord-tenant relationship throughout the lease term. Fair housing is all about ensuring equal access to housing opportunities for everyone. The Fair Housing Act plays a crucial role here by prohibiting discrimination in various aspects of housing, including renting, selling, financing, and advertising. This law protects individuals from being unfairly treated based on certain characteristics. Specifically, these protected characteristics include race, color, national origin, religion, and sex. It also extends protection to people with disabilities and those with familial status, such as having children. Understanding these protections is essential for anyone involved in real estate investment to ensure compliance and promote fairness in the housing market. On this slide, we're diving into the tax implications of capital gains, specifically focusing on how the holding period affects tax rates. First, let's talk about short-term gains. These occur when you sell an asset, like real estate, after holding it for 1 year or less. Short-term gains are typically taxed at a higher rate, ranging from 0 up to 20% federally, depending on your overall income bracket. Now, if you hold the asset for more than 1 year, the gain is considered long-term. Long-term gains usually benefit from lower tax rates, which is one of the key incentives for holding investments over the long haul. These rates are often significantly less than short-term rates, making it more tax efficient to retain property longer. To put this into perspective, consider a simple example. If you buy a property for $300,000 and sell it for $380,000, you realize an $80,000 gain. The tax treatment on this gain entirely depends on how long you held the property before selling it. If it's a short-term gain, you could owe more in taxes compared to selling after holding it for more than a year, which would typically result in a lower tax burden. Understanding these differences is crucial for real estate investors because it impacts your after-tax profits and influences your investment strategy. Let's talk about the 1031 exchange, a powerful tool for deferring capital gains tax when selling investment property. First, you sell your current property, but instead of the proceeds going directly to you, they are held by a qualified intermediary. This is crucial because it allows you to defer the tax liability. Next, within 45 days of the sale, you must identify a replacement property. This step is time sensitive, so you need to be sure about your next investment quickly. Finally, you have up to 180 days from the sale date to complete the purchase of a new property. By following these steps properly, you can defer paying capital gains tax and continue to grow your real estate portfolio more efficiently. When we talk about due diligence in real estate investment, there are 3 key steps you need to focus on. First, inspect the property. This means thoroughly checking the condition, identifying any defects, and estimating the cost of repairs before you commit to buying. It's crucial to understand what you're getting into, so there are no surprises later on. Second, review the title. This involves looking into the ownership history, checking for any liens, easements, or unresolved claims that might affect your ownership. You want to make sure the property is free of legal issues that could complicate your investment. Third, verify legal clearance. Confirm that the seller can transfer a clean title and that the terms of the sale align with your contract. This step ensures that the transaction is valid and protects you from future disputes. Combining the inspection findings with a thorough title review significantly reduces hidden risks before closing the deal, giving you confidence in your investment decision. When we talk about contracts and offers to purchase, it's important to understand that the most protective language usually resides within the contingencies. Essentially, a purchase contract defines the entire deal. First, the parties involved must be clearly identified. This means specifying exactly who the buyer and the seller are, which is crucial to make the agreement legally enforceable. Next, the property description must be precise. Using the exact legal description and address ensures there's no confusion about what is being conveyed in the sale. Then, the purchase price needs to be clearly stated. This includes not only the price itself, but also details like the earnest money deposit and how the buyer plans to fund the transaction. Setting a closing date is the fourth key element. This date establishes a deadline for completing all necessary actions, including possession and the final transfer of the title. Finally, contingencies are what really protect the buyer. These might include inspection, financing, appraisal, or title contingencies. They provide the buyer with a legal exit or the right to renegotiate if essential conditions aren't met. Together, these components form a solid and detailed purchase contract that safeguards both parties throughout the transaction. Now, let's talk about contingencies, which act as your legal safety net in a real estate transaction. First, there's a financing contingency. This one is crucial because it allows the buyer back out if the loan approval or funding falls through, protecting you from being stuck if financing doesn't come through as expected. Next, we have the inspection contingency. This protects you from hidden defects in the property by giving you the option to request repairs, renegotiate the price, or even cancel the deal if serious issues are uncovered. Finally, the appraisal contingency is important to ensure you don't overpay. If the property appraises for less than the agreed upon price, this contingency allows you to renegotiate or walk away, preventing you from paying more than the property's market value. Together, these contingencies help safeguard your investment throughout the buying process. Now, let's walk through the final legal steps involved in closing a real estate transaction. First, we review and sign all the critical documents. This includes a closing disclosure, loan terms, the deed, and every other final transfer document to ensure everything is accurate and agreed upon. Next, we move to funding and recording. At this stage, the cash required to close is delivered, the lender provides the loan funds, and the deed is officially recorded with the county. Finally, once the title clears and the recording process is complete, the legal ownership of the property transfers to the buyer and possession can begin. These steps are crucial to completing a smooth and legally sound real estate transaction. Title insurance is a one-time policy designed to protect both buyers and lenders from any ownership issues that might have occurred before the property was purchased. It safeguards you against defects in the title, undisclosed liens, and ownership claims that could threaten your legal ownership. However, it's important to understand what title insurance does not cover. It won't protect you from future zoning changes, any problems related to condition of property, or issues that arise from actions you take after closing. Essentially, title insurance gives you peace of mind about the history of your property's ownership, but doesn't cover everything related to the property itself. Let's review the key takeaways from Module 1 on real estate investment. First, choosing the right ownership structure is crucial because it affects liability, taxes, control, and how risks are shared among parties. Next, having a clear and marketable title is essential. It confirms who owns the property and helps identify any claims or issues before you close the deal. Third, it's important to understand the different types of deeds, such as warranty deeds, special warranty deeds, and quitclaim deeds, because each offers varying levels of protection. Fourth, checking zoning regulations early on is critical since land use laws can restrict your development options, rental possibilities, renovations, or even impact the future value of the property. Fifth, lease terms play a major role in determining outcomes. Aspects like rent amount, lease duration, responsibilities for repairs, default conditions, and tenant rights need to be clearly spelled out. Finally, taxes significantly influence your investment returns. Understanding capital gains, allowable deductions, and strategies like 1031 exchanges can help optimize your net performance. These 6 legal concepts form the foundation for making smart decisions when buying, holding, leasing, or protecting real estate investments. Before you move forward with your next real estate deal, it's crucial to build a strong legal foundation. First, make sure to consult an attorney who can provide guidance on entities, contracts, and titles. Getting this advice early helps you avoid costly mistakes and ensures your investment is secure. Next, review comparable properties. Looking at recent deals will give you a clearer picture of pricing, lease expectations, and potential risks, helping you make informed decisions. Finally, take the time to understand local laws thoroughly. This means verifying zoning rules, landlord-tenant regulations, necessary disclosures, and permit requirements. Doing so protects you from legal pitfalls and surprises down the line. The key takeaway here is to turn legal awareness into a habit whenever you invest. This proactive approach will serve you well throughout your real estate journey.